Hello. Welcome. I, like many millennials on this planet, love the Scream franchise. And in a perfect world, I would rank all of the Scream movies. But what I realize is this is not a perfect world, and that video would not be very entertaining. Because, well, the original Scream is my favorite. Scream 6 is in my last place, and the others are somewhere in between, most likely in the order that they were actually released. I know, super unique and special. But what I thought would be interesting would be to actually review and rank one of the key components that makes a Scream movie a Scream movie. Its signature cocktail, if you will. The opening kill scene. Now, obviously, I look forward to the opening kill scenes every time I see a Scream movie, and I'd say even the worst Scream opening scene is still better than a lot of horror movies' opening scenes, but we have to rank them. Well, we don't. I'm choosing to. So when I think about, like, if I had to rewatch an opening kill scene from a Scream movie, which one would I be least likely to want to rewatch? That would have to be Scream 5 from 2022. So, first of all, it needs to be said, Jenna Ortega, amazing actress, amazing Scream queen, and I am so happy that we have been lucky enough to have her be a part of the Scream franchise. She is fantastic, and I will also say that when I saw this in theaters, this scene was so nostalgic that the first few minutes of it were like absolutely mesmerizing. I mean, it brought us back to Woodsboro, it brought us back to the original. It was clearly a beautiful homage to Casey Becker's scene. But when I rewatch all the movies and I rewatched all of the opening scenes back to back to back, and you know, from a more settled location, aka my living room couch, what I realized, it is the scene that offers the least amount of suspense, innovation, and awe to the audience, in my opinion. Therefore, it offers the least amount of entertainment, and therefore it is the weakest of the franchise. It is important to mention that this is the only opening sequence where no one actually dies, which is new, it's unique, but I don't think it actually helps the scene that much. I think we all knew Jenna Ortega wasn't gonna die, and that really kills the whole suspense factor for us. I think we all knew that she was meant to be a new legacy character for the franchise. Now, I know that the scene was not meant to reinvent the wheel, and it was supposed to be a throwback to the original, so it wasn't even really supposed to modify the wheel that much, but in my opinion, I feel like it's the one that just offers the least to us as the audience. Now, again, the worst Scream opening sequence is still going to be better than most horror movies' opening sequences, but when comparing the 6 Scream movies, it's gonna be in last place. In 5th place, Scream 3. So I appreciate Scream 3. It's, you know, sticking to the formula of the original, but it still adds in a few twists, which are really fun. I personally love that this is set in LA, Hollywood area. I think it makes it more meta, which is just, it's fun, and it's just become kind of a running like theme of this franchise, especially at the point when this was released in 2000. I love that when Cotton Weary picks up the phone, he is actually in traffic, because if you live in LA, where else would you be? But in standstill traffic, obviously. But in general, I just think that the change of scenery out of like, a safe suburban area was very, very different, and it was a breath of fresh air. Something else that's also very unique about this opening scene is that Cotton Weary, he's technically safe. Like, he is in a safe place when he answers the phone and has a conversation with the killer. Now, I get we don't know that right away. The killer could be in the back seat, could be waiting outside the car, could be in another car waiting to pounce. But we learn pretty soon that no, the killer is nowhere near Cotton. The killer is at Cotton Weary's apartment, watching Cotton's girlfriend. So it's interesting because Cotton Weary is perfectly safe, but he goes from his safe place to the danger, and we hadn't seen that yet, so that's new and unique. Cotton Weary could have just been like, we good, bye. Just like, obviously would have been unfortunate for his girlfriend, but he didn't have to actually go to the danger. I think it also just, the fact that it's Cotton Weary in this scene, I think it just makes me feel a wider range of emotions than I do in 5. I mean, Cotton Weary is a legacy character at this point. We finally started getting to know him, and we finally started to like him. He had a good character arc in Scream 2, and now you're gonna take him from us? You just took took Randy and now you're taking Cotton? What is this? And I think it really raised the stakes because it really had us hoping that maybe he would escape. And they make it look like he's going to at a couple points. But no, he doesn't. He dies. Spoiler alert. And I think another thing, obviously, that made this opening sequence a little more unique is it's the one that introduced the whole voice stealing concept, which they used throughout Scream 3. And I know, yes, a little far-fetched for the time, but I found it entertaining. I thought it was fun to kind of always constantly wondering, is this really Sidney? Is this really Dewey? I thought it just added some suspense to the movie, even if it was a little ridiculous. But I think we can all agree Scream 3 is the most ridiculous of all the Scream movies. You have to appreciate it for what it was / is. I'd say one of the things I appreciate the most about the Scream franchise is that they obviously do incorporate lots of dark humor, and I think when looking at Scream 5 versus Scream 3, I just think Scream 3 executes the comedic lines better. Now again, Jenna Ortega, amazing actress, but just something about Cotton Weary, Liv Schreiber, I mean, his delivery of lines is just so good.
So, you a big 100% Cotton fan?
He is a treasure. So it has to beat out number 5. All right, and in the 4th spot, Scream 4, very appropriate. So I love that this movie took the whole idea of killing off big name actors in the first 10 minutes to like the nth degree, to a comedic level, because it's just so entertaining and I greatly appreciate it. I also love that it's poking fun at how ridiculous a horror series, or really any movie series, can get by the 6th or 7th installment. I appreciate it that it's that self-aware. And then we get to also see how kind of the Stab series has gone, and we get some of that extra background information. It's very enjoyable. But I think what's really, really cool about this is that it actually allows us, the audience, to experience it firsthand. We get to watch the intros to Stab 6 and Stab 7 along with Marty and Jenny, and that is amazing, and we haven't gotten to do that. And it really increases the entertainment value of the scene. Now, obviously, the rest of the scene isn't anything super special, which is why I didn't rank it any higher, but I think it definitely gets credit for the movie within a movie within a movie factor, which was very unique. I really appreciate getting to experience that firsthand, and I think it makes it good enough for the fourth spot. Okay, and now here is where it gets really, really tough, because the last 3 movies, when it comes to their opening scenes, they are amazing. And I'd say, honestly, my 3rd and my 2nd spot are pretty gosh darn close. But in my 3rd spot, I put Scream 6. Now, let me say that I found it extremely impressive that Scream 6 found a way to still shock us as an audience, even though it's the 6th installment in the franchise. Like, that is impressive. I only wish that the whole movie had been as amazing as this opening scene. Sadly, it was not. But this opening scene gave us Samara Weaving, who is honestly probably my favorite Scream queen. I mean, that girl's scream, oh my God. Sweet Jesus, off the charts, amazing. And I love the kind of bait and switch tactic that this opening scene delivers to us. I love that we think it's just going to be a run-of-the-mill, following the formula, girl getting preyed upon, gets killed, cut to title card. But no. We get a face reveal in the opening scene, and our minds are blown. What is going on? This goes against everything we know to be true. And then we realize why. Because the killers are about to be killed themselves, and it had not been done. It was super unique, it was super clever, and it was executed beautifully. It was amazing. I greatly appreciate that they found, again, a new way to shock us, even though we were already like 6 movies in. I also really appreciate that they did show the brief interaction between Jason and Tara, and that they had Jason mention that he was in the professor's class, because I think it just reiterates that common theme that we see throughout the Scream franchise, that the killer are already probably in your lives, and therefore you should trust no one. Even though these killers didn't end up being the actual killers in the movie, but had they been, they would have already been or implanted in their lives, which I appreciate that they stay true to that nature. And also, because I am a person who is riddled with biases, I get this 1 point just because it has Jason Takes Manhattan playing in the background. Phenomenal movie. Now, as I said, my 2nd and my 3rd one, very close. But I had to give the edge to this one, because this movie came out like 26 years before Part 6, and therefore I think it needs to be appreciated for what it was able to do in the time, especially considering it came out right after the original, Yes, and my second spot is Scream 2, which obviously you know my first spot now, which isn't probably that shocking, but I think Scream 2 is amazing because it could have been super lazy. It could have just completely regurgitated everything from the first movie, and you know what? We probably wouldn't have really minded. It probably would have been fine. It was only the second installment. We wouldn't have been sick of it yet. But no, it went big. You know, we have Scream 1, female alone in a relatively isolated area, no way to ask for help, terrifying. And then we have Scream 2, woman with her boyfriend, partner, in a crowded theater surrounded by hundreds of people, and yet their fates are still the same because no one is safe from Ghostface. It does not matter where you are, it does not matter how many people are around you, like no one is safe. And that is what makes it so terrifying, because it breaks a lot of the cardinal rules of the horror genre. Like, you know, usually we think stay in a group, stay in a public place, you'll be fine. Daylight, right? Daylight is always a savior. Now, obviously that doesn't apply here. They're at the movie at nighttime, but still, it breaks one of those cardinal rules that we think will provide safety. I also really love that Jada Pinkett Smith, Maureen Evans, whatever we want to call her, I love that she is every horror fan when they watch a horror movie. Now, I know she is not a horror fan, she is a Sandra Bullock fan. She is every horror movie watching a horror movie. We're yelling at them, we're telling them what to do, we're saying what we would do differently, but when it comes down to it, when Maureen is attacked, all of that goes out the window. It's so ironic, and I think that it's just funny because, you know, it shows that, you know, being a victim in a horror movie isn't as easy as we all think it might be, but I love that. And lastly, I think the setting is hard to beat. I think for most of horror fans, and most of movie fans, we view the movie theater as a sanctum, and for them to take that place, to take that environment and make it feel unsafe for us is truly horrifying and a ballsy move, I'd say.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
I think that's another reason why Scream 2 beats out Scream 6 is because the kill is actually a lot more high stakes. It's actually a lot more risky than Scream 6 because Scream 6, it's in an alley and then it's in an apartment, both relatively isolated areas. Yes, the alley's a public place, but no one is around. But in Scream 2, packed movie theater, absolutely terrifying. And lastly, I also just love that we get to relive the opening sequence from the original Scream because Stab is playing in the background. So it's basically Casey Becker's opening kill scene, but with some ridiculous but intentional changes to the story and the dialogue, which I find very, very entertaining and comedic.
You know, I don't even know you, and I dislike you already.
And in my first spot, which is no surprise and is already pretty obvious to you because, well, you heard all the other ones already, Scream. It's the original, it's terrifying, it's clever, it's iconic, it's hard to beat. This sequence gave horror fans a level of acknowledgement that we've never had before. And I'm sorry, but to quote every reality dating show ever hosted by Nick Lachey,
I'm obviously Nick Lachey.
It made me feel seen. And I appreciated that. I resonated with Casey Becker. We all resonated with Casey Becker. And that made it feel more suspenseful, more real, more terrifying, everything. But honestly, the self-awareness of this movie was groundbreaking. I know other movies had touched on it a little bit before this, but it was something we had never really seen before. Also, this movie provides us with a roller coaster of emotions. We go from feeling acknowledged and proud to feeling horrified to feeling heartbroken. Because I'm sorry, that scene where Casey Becker is watching her parents walk up to the door and she's trying to yell at them, but she can't because her vocal cords are damaged. Heart-wrenching. And I still, to this day, yell at her. I'm like, throw your phone at your dad. What are you doing? Get his attention. Even if it hits the bushes, they'll hear it, they'll turn, they'll see you. But it's a movie. And it doesn't work that way. And I get it. But still, the fact that I still have these emotions when I watch it, like I'm just rooting for Casey to make it, for her parents to notice her and see her. And I think that I still feel that, almost 30 years later is crazy. It's such a well executed scene. It's beautiful and horrifying, and it makes us feel everything. I don't really feel like I need to really provide a lot more detail as to why the original Scream's opening sequence is my favorite. I think it's probably most people's favorite. Again, I'm not special. None of us are special. Yeah, it was the first, and it's the best. All right then, let me know if you agree down below in the comments. Is the original in your number one spot? Are you special? Did you put it somewhere else? Because that'd actually be very interesting to know. But yeah, I appreciate you watching this, and I will see you next time. Bye.